good game. They're all there. All the celebs are back. Basketball's cool again, out of nowhere. We just need playoffs. Wonder if you start a league. That's probably why golf does good. Even baseball and basketball, I think, could benefit, where it's just like tournaments.
That'd be fire.
Right? You throw like mini tournaments into a big tournament.
Well, didn't the NBA just do that, though?
No, they just threw a tournament in the middle of the season for no reason.
Yeah.
But then the 82 games are still what matter.
Yeah.
And they count as the 82 games. It's just too long. You need shit to matter. You know? UFC works because obviously, one, your life, and then two, like you're going to die. And then two, each fight like kicks you up a rank so much, right? Football, same thing. Only 16 games. Like I feel like if you had like 3 tournaments, all elimination style or something, that led to a big ass one. Because NBA playoffs are banging right now. Everyone's talking about them. Everyone's watching them. It's actually a good product. Like I watched it and it's good basketball.
I think it's also like the underdogs. Yeah, the Pacers.
And it is like the next gen,
Yeah.
right? The next gen stepped up, which some people like. But some you think sometimes that would be a detriment too, right? Like Halliburton's a star, but no one like, you know. It does help that it's like old school rivalries, you know. The New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers thing's giant. There's a lot of history. Yeah, I don't know. But it was a good game. First like full game I've watched in a long ass time. Long ass time.
Well, we are gathered together today to talk about a Netflix series from 2022 called How to Change Your Mind, which is not actually about debating, researching an issue and then shifting your position on it.
Yeah.
It's literally about how to change your mind with psychedelics.
I feel like I've watched something on Netflix about the prior topic too, though. Is it like brain games or something? Maybe
So. Yeah.
There's like a mini documentary talking about just obviously how the brain works, and that's what this kind of talks about more than I thought.
Yeah.
And I understand they're trying to be like sciencey, right? They're not trying to do like a hippie revolution. Although they talk about the history, it's not about the explorative nature of these drugs. It's more about the healing possibilities of it. Mushrooms, LSD, MDMA, but in particular, we watched LSD and MDMA.
Right.
Which
episodes 1 and 3.
Which I thought were like actually like both episodes were so different.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if it's just a product of just the fact that I was tired yesterday and not a lot was sticking in my head, or the maybe somewhat repetitive nature of these episodes.
Yeah,
that not a lot of it stuck with me the way I anticipated.
I felt similar overall, but especially with one. I felt like one had no story, no timeline, and it was just like throwing data and facts at you over and over, where at least 3 it kind of buckled down on that one lady who's, holy shit, talk about
that's crazy.
The short stick. Yeah. Like, what was first? I
think it was
brother OD'd, mom killed the entire family and herself, and then, you know, a rape and a pregnancy. Like, talk about someone that needs some high-level
intervention.
Therapy. Yeah, that's just not like... Yeah, you're not going to talk through that one. You're not going to feel through those pains. But that one at least had like a story, you know?
Yeah, there was a little more... And the one the guy, military dude with the PTSD.
And they're showing like real video of like sessions. Yeah. You know, so you kind of get a feel of what's going on. Where the first one, was just like talking about the 70s and then talking about the drug and then talking about the scientists and then talking about Germany and then, you know, it's just fucking...
It was all kind of setting the stage for, you know, the psychedelics as therapy angle.
But it just didn't even, like you said, nothing stuck. Like, it wasn't that good of a foundation.
No, it really wasn't. And, I feel like there was a time in my life that I understood more about that history of LSD than they portrayed there by a lot.
Yeah. I do feel also like everything just comes in waves. Like, all this stuff's semi-popular right now, but it was, like, really popular, like, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And then I don't even know. Yeah, the ayahuasca. We were just talking off air. Like the ayahuasca is kind of like the bro version of this. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, not a lot, but a handful of podcasts on psilocybin in particular, MDMA. Not as much LSD. I think those two more, and ketamine's kind of the maybe newer one that they're experimenting with real therapies. Mm-hmm. But I've never heard of like a lot of doctors or scientists per se talk about ayahuasca. It's always just like
I
the
think
lost guy. The lost guy is the one talking about,
I think it's probably the vomiting that
24 hours.
Yeah, puts people off. And how do you get out of it? There's no.
I don't think you do. And then also, I don't know if you're as coherent, right? I think that's one of the benefits of maybe MDMA. I've never done anything. I'm too scared of my own brain. But MDMA seems to be you're pretty fucking coherent. So you can really talk through some stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just feeling different. And the switch is a little different. And I've had a lot of friends tell me stories about that where they kind of did, not recommended, but they've done their own therapies of nature that way.
Yeah.
And try to dig in rather than just, obviously, it's a rave drug. But they've done it just trying to dig into themselves a little bit. Where ayahuasca, at least the stories you hear, they're just like dancing with the devil. You're just finding demons.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like it's so bad. I mean, this is obviously my judgment because I've never done it. But it sounds like every story I've heard, I've interviewed people live about it. I've heard interviews everywhere of people that are very, very, I wouldn't say knowledgeable, but experienced with ayahuasca. And it literally, from my end, what I receive is that it's so bad that when you come out,
you just feel so much better because it's over.
Right? Like you're not talking to like the demons.
Yeah.
Right? Where MDMA, at least from this video, sounds like it's almost the opposite. The one guy's quote that was kind of like profound was he's like, I can really explore sadness without being sad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, right? Because like we avoid it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to think about all the sad shit that's happened in my life.
Yeah.
And that's why you lose memory through trauma and you lose memory in general, but you just lose memory of bad times.
Yeah.
Even if something was really bad, like a trip 10 years ago, you tend to remember the only good stuff.
Right.
Like your flight got delayed, you got sick, you stubbed your toe or whatever, but that ice cream in Italy was so good. That's what you remember. You remember like the really good gelato.
Yeah.
I thought the Soldier's take was really, really good.
Some part of me is suspicious that the psychotherapy, the psychedelic psychotherapy angle of it is a little bit of a justification, whitewash, whatever, for making them legal,
Yeah, I've felt that way about all this stuff because you only hear the good stories and they're few and far between, right? Like you only hear the same guys, like this Rick Dublin, who was the main doctor, I guess, in the MDMA one. I've seen him on every podcast ever. Yeah. But if like this was such a profound medicine, and I'm not saying it's not, I think we should be able to at least legally explore it somehow with regulation, but why isn't there 1,000 doctors talking about it? There's 1,000 doctors talking about like walking and lifting weights now. Yeah. Right? Because those obviously work and they're good and we should push them. Same with ayahuasca. And again, I just draw lines because that's what the internet talks about. Yeah. I only hear it from the same few fucks. Like, what about all the ones that went psychic or psychotic? Yeah. Like, that happens.
Yeah. We did not watch the psilocybin episode, but I think I probably mentioned on here before, my son Jake, one of his friends in high school, his doubles tennis partner, took mushrooms and completely lost his shit. Yeah. Like the first time, and committed suicide.
Yeah. I don't think that's uncommon, but for some reason you don't hear those stories. And then as far as I know, and again, I'm no real expert, I've only handful of podcasts, handful of interviews per person. It seems like it's not dose dependent, that it's so genetic and person dependent, right?
On the person, yeah.
So the very first time you ever do it, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will just be transparent and go back to my early years. Like when I was growing up, 60s, 70s, early 80s, I was pretty fascinated with the 60s culture. Yeah. And LSD was a big part of that.
I mean, you grew up in NorCal.
I grew up in NorCal. Yeah, exactly. And so I was fascinated by the idea of trying LSD when I was in high school. So like, I think I did acid 3 times, 17, 18, 19, in that range. The first time was just funny. The second time was a little bit annoying. The third time was fun until it wasn't.
Sure.
And it wasn't like, there's questions like, did I get it from different sources or whatever? No, this is stuff I bought all at one time.
And so the chances that it was like at least semi-natural is probably better than the now. That you're not getting like fucking fentanyl or who knows, battery acid.
Yeah. You get, it's just that we had, there was this microdot. This is really tiny little paper that they drop it on paper, and and you put it in your mouth and it dissolves, and in a bit you're on your way.
Pretty soon, yeah.
Relatively soon, depending on the person, but like within an hour or so, you're starting to feel something. The way I will say the way they described the colors and the patterns and the movement and all this stuff on the screen, it's pretty close.
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
That's what a lot of my friends said. They're like, obviously from the school I went to, on the naturey hippie side, but they're always out in forest camping.
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, that sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And again, I only have the pop media version of what this looks like, but I'm like, dude, as soon as that tree talks to me, like, I'm freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, I didn't have anything like that, and I've, full admission on the third time, I went to see a double feature of Star Trek II and Star Wars.
Oh, dope.
Which I thought would be super, super cool, whatever. And the fact is that when when I was watching the movies, visually I was so locked in on what was going on the screen that I didn't hallucinate or anything. I didn't get anything extra out of it until I left.
Interesting.
And that last time, I thought back on something that had happened to me a few years before that I had one context for that was negative, and when I re-examined it under a different context, I realized more of what actually happened. Like not like I hallucinated it, different things. Like,
right.
This matches up to the facts better than the way I remembered it.
Almost third-personed it.
Almost third-personed it, yeah. And which was difficult to get past. And there's a phenomenon with LSD where it changes the sizes of your pupils so your pupils get super big.
Yeah.
And then toward the end of that, when I was feeling quite awful, instead of being round, they were just kind of jagged, which was scary.
Yeah, sounds very scary.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't. I wasn't hallucinating it. No, that's exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
So after that time, I was done. I didn't really have any desire to do it again. I don't know. Just being a teenager and being very experiential and whatever. It's like whatever.
Yeah. Not to go back to retrovert here, but I forgot to mention Liver King's pupils. Were his pupils fucked that whole documentary?
Yeah, and you were mentioning that there was a very brief shot of him like loading up with mushrooms.
Yeah, but even previous to that, I noticed his pupils, and I don't notice a lot of humans' pupils because most people, it obviously changes with light. It's a lens, and it's medium or it's small. But I noticed his through every interview. I'm like, dude, something's like glassy-eyed and fucking huge pupils every interview. I'm like, what is this, dude? Maybe it's the $12,000 of HGH. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it really, if he was on mushrooms, that totally explains that whole like thanking the brother cow and whatever for
brother, so good.
Touch the earth and why his kids were so uncomfortable in that scene. It's like, oh, dad's high as fuck.
Yeah,
right
he's
now.
high again.
Dad's high again.
That scene, and then the ayahuasca bros that were very, very common over the last, again, not as common right now, I would say, but over the last 8 years was a big theme online. It always seems like the ultra rich also. Right? You're not getting these experiences of the super positive because, like, and who knows? Again, I maybe I'm jaded, or even you talking about your experience of like it was good till it wasn't. I even feel that way with alcohol. And so, like, that's why I don't drink. Like, one, I get bad hangovers, but two, like an hour in, or you do one drink too many, and I'm like, I don't want to feel this no longer, and you can't change it,
you
right?
Can't get out of it. Yeah.
So then you hear about drugs that you ingest, and I'm like, well, those are going to be hours and hours.
Yeah.
Alcohol, really lasts a couple hours. I'm like, I just don't want to experience that. It's not even out of control, or it's not like I'm an angry drunk, or I'm not fighting. It's not. It's just like what's in my head. Like, I don't want to not feel that any longer, not be able to flip it on and off. But yeah, the ultra rich bros are the only ones you hear about, really exploring. And I wonder if it's because, like, again, like, I think it's becoming more common, and maybe it's because my Twitter's all financial now. I've officially groomed my algorithm to get rid of all like weird porn and weird shit going on. It's all financial, but all those guys do talk about like, yeah, man, like all these broke asses are the ones telling you money doesn't make you happy. Like, yes, things don't make you happy, but money's complete freedom, and that's going to take away a lot of stress, make life better.
Yeah.
So, well, if you're, ultra rich, and again, everyone has a different human experience, and yeah, ultra rich people still get divorces and bad things happen, but a lot of stresses of your life are gone, and now you're exploring all this stuff. Yeah, it sounds a lot more fun, but you got to wake up on Monday morning at 6 a.m. and go fucking dig a hole. Getting all high on Sunday probably isn't as fun. You got a lot of stresses to deal with, There's a lot more angry things in the back of your head.
Yeah, I don't like. I kind of stopped getting hangovers some years ago for whatever reason. I could just, like the headache and the stomach upset and all that stuff. Just now, it's just not resting. It's just not sleeping appropriately and just really, really, really tired. So I don't drink a whole lot anymore, kind of ever. It has to be a pretty special circumstance.
That was a real sharp change
two or three.
A real sharp change online and popularity wise of like even in the fitness space. And they I don't know what exact. I know there was like a study that came out, but like there's millions of studies, but one came out and all of a sudden they all changed their mind, Nah, drinking isn't cool. Nah, drinking fucks you up. Like, I don't even drink anymore, where before that they were more about like, yeah, I get shredded with 1 beer a day, like the tone switched real quick.
Well, beer was so popular in the CrossFit community, too. I mean,
it's strongman, powerlifting. I mean, you used to go to powerlifting meets and you go to the back room, the warm-up room, bro, deadlifts come, there's literally beers popping already.
Yeah.
And I do kind of like that culturally, right? Because then it turns it from like, yeah, competitive, but we're here to kick it,
just,
party
time.
Yeah, we know no one's getting rich here. Like, we're here to have a good time. And so I do like that. Obviously, Highland Games, like all that stuff's kind of medieval-esque. Powerlifting kind of medieval-esque sport in a sense too, like
yeah.
So like, but to feel good mentally and physically, probably not it. But even this world, I mean, the microdose of whatever, shrooms in particular, is insanely popular.
Yeah, and I don't like. I tried a little bit a few years ago of just a little bit of like mushroom in chocolate, and I felt terrible.
Yeah.
Just like awful, like my whole body wanted to throw up. I didn't throw up, and it wasn't that much. Obviously it's not something I'm going to adapt to, and not anything that helped.
But you don't hear
helpful.
You don't hear those stories.
Yeah,
right. Those people are never the ones talking about it.
Yeah,
they're the ones that do it once and then never do anything.
Yeah,
whereas someone does it, loves it, and then speaking of CrossFit and whatever, they're just on the road, and that's their whole personality.
Yeah,
right. Every podcast about shrooms, every lunch small talk is about shrooms. Every YouTube video is about their ayahuasca trip changing their ego death or whatever the fuck.
That's ego death has got to be the biggest fucking scam. All that means to me is you recontextualize the view of yourself. You didn't become less of an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like the only people I've heard talk about that are like the ultra rich,
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, maybe. And I have heard, again, firsthand stories, in-person interviews and whatever of people going to ayahuasca and kind of having a third person look at it, which many also say. I was listening to another podcast the other day about meditation, that if you get really good at it, you're going to head in that world. I've heard a lot of religious folks, when they say they get deep into prayer, they even get that way, and I personally believe that. I believe you kind of have a body, you kind of have a mind, and my mind's reactionary, and then I have a soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it. There's something else there. And as soon as you can kind of detach your mind from that spirit-esque thing, you can understand. And even regular therapy does that. Like, okay, why did you react that way first off? Like, well, I didn't. My brain did. My brain is like a computer. And so how do I gain control of all those things? But yeah, if you're the ultra-rich CEO, dickhead type to get to that ultra-rich CEO, and now you're cruising with money in life, yeah, maybe you have a little third-person view and you're like, damn, I was a dick.
Yeah.
Like that's ego death, Like maybe I should just be nicer to folk and I shouldn't be so cocky, confident, whatever. And, that's a whole nother discussion for another day of whether you need that personality to get to those positions, which I strongly do, and data kind of backs that up, right? Like whatever the number is, 70% of CEOs are narcissists, that kind of situation. I don't think it's a correlation. I think there's definitely some causation there to get to those spots, and probably some causation why those guys are the ones heading to fucking Peru, slamming tea and throwing up all night,
Yeah, potentially, yeah. the interesting thing about them using them in clinical situations as it's played out in the world is that LSD does actually have an exemption or whatever, a permit to be able to be used, a particular type of LSD in therapy.
Yeah.
Whereas they thought when this was made that MDMA was going to actually get approved by the FDA for use in therapy, and it did not.
Yeah.
It was sent back for more research.
Isn't some of that state by state too? Like obviously the federal law crushes everything, but federal weed's still illegal and it's legal in 20 states.
Right.
Because I've heard Seattle does a lot of the testing in Oregon.
Yeah.
Because they just made their state legal and they just hope FBI doesn't knock at their door.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens there. I don't know. I think that we're in a time where too many former legislators are making money off of weed for it for there to be in real state enforcement at this point.
Yeah, true. I wonder, internationally, like obviously the mini history, they talk a lot about Europe, but even still, I've heard that even medicine-wise, it's like the Swiss, Germany, et cetera, are just always kind of pushing the boundaries. Even like stem cell-y type stuff, I think was first kind of really pushed over in Germany versus here.
I didn't realize that MDMA was as old as it is.
Yeah, would they say blood clots? They were first trying to find a blood clot fix.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to just, make you high with love. I don't know how.
Love drug.
Yeah, I'm no chemist, but I think that's what they said. I'm like, damn, because it sounded, old.
Yeah.
50s, 60s.
60s, I think, yeah. I can't actually cite chapter and verse on this, but I have, in the past, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 months, listened to a podcast talking about whether MDMA is actually good for therapy or not. And the deal is that like there's a percentage of people that it does help in a sustainable way. And then there's another percentage of people who don't get helped at all. And then in the middle are the people who get some help for some period of time and then revert and then have to either go back or they're just screwed.
Yeah. I did like the one doctor, I think it was the main MDMA guy that was doing the in-person sessions. I forgot his name, but he also talked about like he thinks that these are like actual fixes because they chemically get into your brain.
Yeah.
He's like, we're like, and I've seen it too, and you may have a different experience, but like I've had some really good therapists in my life, some really bad therapists in my life, but I do liken them often to like the chiropractor that's just like trying to sign you for a lifetime contract. They're not like trying to actually like fix a problem. And of course our mentals aren't always something to fix and we're ongoing evolving human, of course. So other things come up and you can always learn, and it never like hurts to confess or speak openly with another human, but they do seem to like try to keep it going forever. And this guy's like, dude, I think MDMA, if I get this going right, can actually lack of a better term, fix these PTSDs are really extreme. And if that philosophy, and he truly believes in that, I do like that we're trying to do that, right? Get to the root. Same issue with we can go deeper into pharmaceuticals and our medical system in the beginning to begin with. It's a lot like your mechanic. He'll fix the oil and tell you this is broken, and they just want you to come back over and over every fucking month, rather than, like, why isn't and sure, many great doctors tell you to go walk and eat healthy, but why aren't they actually prescribing and working with you to get healthy, right? Telling a obese person when they come to the office, like, Sebas, you should really walk more and eat more greens. That's not actually helping your patient.
No.
Like, they know that. They know they should, but how do we set up the habits and the routine and the accountability to kind of get there? So if that doctor believes in that, I do agree and like that, but I don't know if the drugs are the answer either.
Yeah, my experience, I only have had one therapist. I saw him for 5 years, and he kicked me out, sort of. I mean, he kicked me out, but
that's good in some sense.
He got to the point of saying, I don't know what you're getting it from this at this point. Like, I started off going, I don't know, maybe twice a week for a short period of time, and then down to once a week, and then every other week, and I was down to once a month. And it was just a conversation. He was similar age to me, some similar background or whatever, and it got to the point where it was it was less about just me talking and more about us both talking about our personal experiences.
Yeah.
And he was like, actually, you're just paying me to, basically have a conversation you might have over a drink with a friend.
Yeah.
And so I haven't been back. I've thought about it. I've had other things to deal with that I thought, I could go back. It's like, I don't even know what it would take to make that call at this point.
Sure.
And maybe talking to somebody else at somewhere along the line would have produced a different result. But I know that I put it off too long.
To begin with.
Yeah, I put it off because I had a whole bag full of shit to deal with by the time that I did it. And
that's hard to attack.
And I totally sympathize with the PTSD stuff, and I didn't understand that. Like I think you've said in here, like regular people get PTSD.
Yeah.
It's not like a exclusively military experience.
Yeah, that's what that lady was explaining.
Yeah, there are things that still they're kind of faint echoes compared to what they used to be, but sure. I could. 2 or 3 different things that have happened over time, I could just absolutely obsess over. Like my mind would not let them go, and not to the point of being unable to cope with the world, just enough for it to disrupt sleep and just be anxious all the time.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, you would. I don't know what a healthy human is, but you would think having any kind of ruminating thought probably isn't the norm. Or the average, you probably shouldn't just have a cloud sitting in there.
No, but at the same time, if you have to have almost no empathy at all for stuff, really difficult stuff, not to bother you for a period of time.
For sure. For sure.
I don't know how to fade those things, but clearly the people that they talked to in the course of this during the time that they were filming it, with the MDMA part, got better.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, it seems like it was helping.
I mean, it makes you wonder if they filmed segments with people who didn't get better.
Right. That's my kind of whole point to all this. And same with regular, the therapy styles. It doesn't just fix everyone.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's ever made anyone worse.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if you could say the same for this style of therapy.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. And again,
and it's the same thing with actual medications too.
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I just feel medications that are messing with your mind, they obviously, they're illegal. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because part of me is obviously semi-conspiratorial. Why is everything fucking illegal? What are you fucking hiding? And the cultural essence of this all. I think they said MDMA was even legal till the mid-'80s, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies came out in 1994, the first Bad Boys, and the tone, called propaganda at this point, god damn it, the tone, it's all about ecstasy.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes it feel like it's the devil's pill.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, really? And I was too young to understand at the time. I watched Bad Boys probably in high school, so I saw it well after. But then you think about, okay, if it came out in 94, and let's say MDMA was legal in 84, you're like, damn, in 10 years... that feels like propaganda at that point. It was totally legal, and now this movie's making it look like, Cubans are bringing it in by the boatloads and poisoning all of Miami, And so, yeah, part of me thinks, all right, is the power above just trying to, deal with money? Because all these drugs are obviously hold high value when they're illegal.
Yeah.
But then the other part of me thinks, maybe we need tighter regulations because... you're not going to go take, I don't know, I'm arguing myself in my head, because I was going to say, you're not going to go take, one volume and then ruin your life, but a lot of people do, too. Because I was going to say, you do one session with MDMA or LSD, and it triggers off your brain, and now you're a different human.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of our meds do that, too. So, I don't know. I don't know the answer, folks.
Yeah, there are definitely legal FDA-approved drugs that do change how people's personalities work.
Yeah.
In the way they present themselves,
right.
And maybe to a certain extent to the way they think, and
or
certainly
the high level of addiction just from pain, right? That's the normal story. Back pain, get on one of these painkillers. Now you're addicted for life, and 3 weeks later you're sucking dick for some heroin. That's just what you hear. It's what you hear.
Yeah, that's a pretty quick descent. But yeah.
They really liked it.
We lost Sebastian.
Fentanyl, right? Fentanyl's legal.
Yeah, it's a legal drug.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's just been used in illegal ways.
Yeah, and brought in by the masses.
Yeah.
Right? But like, yeah, regular fentanyl been used forever.
Oh, here's the question: is like you want to talk about a conspiracy?
Yes, they killed Michael Jackson.
Yeah. I wasn't referring to that specifically. I'm not commenting on the veracity one way or the other. Well, I mean, it's been proven that the government was behind crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Not entire. They didn't like create it, but they got it into communities.
Same timeline, right?
Yeah.
Reagan. They had Reagan clips in the MDMA one.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
my God.
I think they kind of mentioned like
Yeah.
them being able to like control certain races.
Yeah, the war on drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, the war on drugs, the whole privatizing of the jail system lines up pretty equally with that. There's a lot of, again, like, you can call it correlation, but there's a lot of things that line up really tightly in that era of drugs, less fortunate neighborhoods, certain skin tones, and these drugs being released out there and then being arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And one wonders if, like, the knowledge that there's fentanyl out there that's getting mixed into other things by itself makes street drugs less safe.
No, all of them.
In general.
Yeah, everywhere, top to bottom. I mean, I forgot what I was watching. I think it was a live stream of somebody at like an event. I think it was just like a regular music event. Or it might have been Mardi Gras. It might have been Mardi Gras. It was Mardi Gras in the spring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I think I was watching a streamer walk Mardi Gras, and there's volunteers out there handing what's the drug to get you out of like a.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Basically, like a counter to all these.
Yeah.
To fentanyl to laced drugs, and they're handing out necklaces with a little like
Narcan.
They're handing out necklaces with Narcan at the bottom. It's like all these motherfuckers, whether it's weed, whatever they're partying, like there's a high chance it's going to be in there.
That's interesting. And Narcan and any of the drugs that kind of reverse the effect of other drugs, you can't just like self-administer or have somebody administer for you and then be out of the woods.
Sure.
Because it's got to be monitored. It may have to be repeated or whatever.
Who knows what's going to your heart, your blood pressure.
Exactly. So I mean,
yeah,
like
it's like hit that, call 911.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't rely on that to be.
But just the fact that that's the norm.
Yeah.
Right. Where you go to any festival, whatever, even 10 years ago, and they're handing out credit card bills, or they're trying to sell you a credit card or something.
Right.
Like it's just a different environment. But this nonprofit or whoever they were, they might have just been regular citizens trying to help. We're out there handing that shit out, and you're like, damn, bro, like it really is that common and that crazy.
Yeah.
And they definitely killed Michael Jackson.
100%.
That was fentanyl too.
Propofol.
Oh, propofol. Probably with fentanyl.
Maybe. Propofol is
that doctor still just stomping around Hollywood, just drugging up every fucking.
Is he? I thought they put him in jail.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm making up. We need a doc to follow it up, a documentary.
I thought for sure.
I hope so. I don't know. I wouldn't say for sure, bro. Hollywood feels so sketchy. We talked about it too. The other dentist guy who's a bodybuilder is fucking drugging up Kanye.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, just slanging nitrous.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, drug culture is insane. I think it's way more common than people think. I was watching, to wrap this in a circle here, I was watching an NBA game. It was a clip, but from last week or the week before. And I think it was Oklahoma, which is not somewhere you would think is,
Yeah. You talking about the luxury box through the window?
No, this guy was like 6 rows back. In like a OKC jersey, just ripping a bump off his finger in the middle of the game, and they caught him on the Megatron. They were just scanning the audience, on ESPN, and this dude just hitting a bump off his fucking, and you're like, dude,
I thought the guy was in a box. I thought they were shooting through a window.
Maybe there's multiple.
Yeah, maybe so. I remember seeing a clip like that.
How insane! Like a box makes a little more sense, at least some rich folk, and they think they're in the privacy. I swear the one I saw, this dude's like midsection, bottom row, just ripping cocaine off his own finger in the middle of a basketball game while the Jumbotron comes on his, and you're like, dude, are drugs that common? Like, it's insane to me. Maybe I'm naive. I mean, I'm not, because in my 20s, I didn't do any drugs, but yeah, I'd go to bars or whatever, and you make more friends with some locals. And I found out how like common cocaine is in even Sacramento, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, where do people get the money for the cocaine? Well,
yeah. Well, and like, why? Like, what's the first time? You just have one friend say, "Hey, this is hella fun," and you're gonna do it. Like, I'm just not that guy.
Oh, I think you're right. It is in the seats. This is the one.
It's like a regular ass looking white dude. Maybe. I thought he had a jersey on. Oh, it's Minnesota. Yeah, that's probably it. Insane. On the Megatron, they got his dumbass.
Yeah.
Insane activities. Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember
you
that.
think a poorer state.
Yeah.
Because when you think cocaine, you obviously think rich white folks. You're thinking New York, L.A.
Yeah.
You're in fucking Minnesota in the freezing cold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in his defense, it could have been meth. So.
Yeah. No, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been a lot of things. What the fuck do we know? It could have been crunched up MDMA. Who knows?
I don't know. You probably haven't been watching Poker Face.
No.
There's an episode, the most recent episode of Poker Face. Poker Face is like a comedy mystery thing based off of the structure of Columbo from the 70s.
Okay.
The sort of movie of the week kind of mystery, whatever. And Kumail Nanjiani plays this cop who has rescued an alligator. And he wins like Cop of the Year after year after year after year.
Is this a comedy?
Yes.
All right. I was going to say, this is getting weird.
And his rival with that is the actress who plays it was the little girl in Field of Dreams.
Okay. Who's probably
grown up
40 now. Yeah,
grown up now. And she's really a good cop, and he's a like sensational cop, whatever. And he's just turned over the course of like 9 years, it turns into his whole personality. He's got his hair is bleached, and he's got he's got catchphrases and
rock star,
Gator done and whatever. And she decides to, because they have to use, for some reason, he's got this alligator drugged all the time so that it doesn't kill people. And
he kept it?
Because,
He just kept it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And because the thing is drugged all the time, then they have to use like a laxative to keep it pooping, because it would eventually stop pooping.
Sure.
Because of the...
Yeah, sleeping, coma.
Yeah. And its gut goes to sleep. And so she slips this alligator laxative into his energy shots. He's got like 5 hour energy, but it's like 2 hour energy, whatever. And he takes it and he cannot stop shitting. And this is major spoiler territories for people who are actually watching Poker Face. He shits himself to death. And
Actual death?
Actual death. Yes, he actually dies. And to cover it up, she gives the alligator meth, like puts it down its nostrils, and so it eats it. So,
that sounds wild.
Yes,
That sounds like a comedy of old.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's brand new?
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like OG comedies.
Yeah, the best part of it is that when you look into the alligator's eyes, it's like a trip, like the LSD trip, with like all the patterns and whatever. Yeah. It's amazing. It's on Peacock, folks, if you want to.
There you go.
Check that out.
Comedies are back, maybe.
It's pretty fun. Watching this, I was wondering, because we did episodes 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Am I going to want to go back and watch the second and the fourth? And what's your gut feeling on that?
Probably never. I like the topic, but
I am too.
Yeah, they just make it like, and I understand they want to make it professional, right? Because I'm sure one of the producers or the doctors want it to seem, they want to push their proper agenda.
Right.
But then it's like too stale.
Yeah.
I don't need a hippie naked running around the forest high, but I need something.
Yeah.
And that lady's story was something.
It was super compelling.
But that's
you
like
said the veteran guy was.
Yeah, it was good, but there's just like nothing really going on. And then when they did do, I don't mind like little cut scenes in documentaries, like Super Size Me, I guess, is like the easiest one that most people watch. Like their little cartoon animations. I don't mind that stuff. Mm-hmm. But then these weren't even like good. You know,
No.
they're like showing you like a forest that's like, again, like, trippy. You know, I'm like, well, that's not really, you know.
I will say in the MDMA episode, like all those people were, I think they showed like 3 different people, maybe 4, I don't know, in their sessions.
Yeah.
They were all super articulate.
That's what I've never done any of these drugs, but it seems like it's just so different than it seems like that's probably why ayahuasca's not in this category. It seems like you're very there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only articulate, but smart. And like, yeah, you could see their distress. Like that one guy's like screaming, you know, at himself kind of. But yeah, they're like there. They're definitely there. You can have a regular ass conversation.
Yeah, whereas with LSD, that's not really the case.
Yeah, I'm sure. And ayahuasca, at least what I hear, I've seen other documentaries. The Aaron Rodgers one isn't bad. I don't think we did that one.
No, we didn't.
I watched it a long time ago when it first came out. It wasn't bad just because like Aaron can talk well. You know, he's obviously famous. And then when he goes through his history, it has like a good chronological time. You know, like the basics we talk about in documentaries, the recipe stands true. Like this doesn't have a timeline. Like, yeah, they show the history of it kind of, but we're not following a story.
Right.
Where Aaron talks about his college career, then his, you know, getting looked over, whatever. Kind of goes through all of it. Separation of his family, etc. So in that sense, it was really good. It was Netflix too, but yeah, I'm probably not going back to this one, sadly.
Yeah, I'm not going back to it either. And I'm not saying that it was bad. It's just, you know.
Yeah, if you're like a therapist, you're like really into this stuff. Yeah, but it felt like something I should watch in college. You know, but even that, it wasn't like that educational per se.
No, it really wasn't.
But it was that tone.
Yeah,
it was like an educational tone, and I mean, you know, the top 3, you know, documentaries in my opinion ever is probably like a Planet Earth, an Icarus, where Icarus has cool cutscenes, right? They do little animations. It has a chronological time.
Yeah.
And then it has like real education. Like you learn a lot about the Olympics and the drug testing system there, and sport and other countries. And Planet Earth obviously is like the easiest. It's got the crazy visuals. They make up a timeline. It's probably lies, but they make up a timeline, right, of the ant. He's born today. And I'm like, bitch, you're not following the same ant for a year, but I get it. But it is educational. But you don't feel, it doesn't feel like vanilla.
Yeah.
This felt very vanilla.
It did, and it really didn't spend much time at all, unless I just missed it, on the negatives.
No, they didn't mention one.
Yeah.
I don't even think they mentioned psychosis.
No, I don't think so.
And again, like I think every drug, you know, I think someone could take marijuana for the first time, technically, right? Like,
technically, if you're just like losing that grip on your mindset.
If your brain's wired a little different than most, you're going to be done. And of course, they never mention that because again, who paid for it? Who's backing it?
Right. Seabass, did you watch any of this?
I did.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched both of them.
Watch both of them?
Yeah.
What, give us your reaction, and like the reaction you walked in here willing to say, as opposed to reacting to what we said.
I was when I was watching it, I was like, maybe I want to try this out, but will I? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, it's interesting how they're using it like within therapy, and how it quote unquote like helps people with like PTSD and all that. I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool.
It might be like one of those extreme, like, you know, reference to, I don't know, extreme times need extreme measures. Like if you have had such traumatic, like that poor lady or this guy, the war veteran, like even psychosis is probably worth the risk, right? Like you might be so trapped in a nightmare that this might be there, but
how much worse could things really get?
Right. And you're just so tortured, you know?
Yeah, like that lady, even her like walking up to like her door, she would hear her dogs just like tapping on the floor.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like even going into my own house, I was like,
right. Yeah. Like that's 24/7 torture, where the issue then becomes if they, I don't want to say promote it, but if you make it popularized like this and you get someone with lesser levels of trauma, and who am I to judge your trauma, but you know what I mean? Like you're pretty functioning and you just have bad times. Even me, you know, I've dealt with depression since, you know, 4th grade. I just don't need like that level of escape. You know, I don't need that level of answer. And I think that's my biggest issue with all of our medical system too, right? Like you get a little bit of back pain and now you're on muscle spasm medicine. Now you're on this painkiller and like, dude, just like go deadlift, like walk, lose some weight, find a way to fix your back first versus the guy who snapped his spine in 3 overseas. Like, okay, that guy might need these muscle spasm relaxers every night, and that's just like culturally where we are as patients and as doctors.
Yeah. And I don't know, the medical system right now too, like doctors are very focused on tamping down a bunch of shit and then starting to ignore you forever.
Right.
That's
and
that medically, psychologically,
all of it. Yeah, I mean it's just become obviously a business.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a capitalist at heart, but certain things don't need to be capitalized.
Yep. All right. Let's rate
Don't
this.
do drugs, kids.
Don't do drugs unless you're gonna do drugs. And
we can't stop you either way. Yeah.
I think maybe we can rate this one on, let's say, tabs of acid. Why not?
How many acid tabs am I taking? Pretty low, sadly. This wasn't bad.
Yeah, like can we split it up? Can we again, like we did the last one? Like we'll talk about like execution versus versus subject matter.
Like subject matter is so interesting, but they missed.
Yeah.
I think the subject is so interesting. It's just part of it's because it's taboo, right? But even that's probably a 2. And again, this wasn't like bad, but there's like it's like a steak with no salt.
Yeah.
Like I'm still gonna eat. It's a steak.
Yeah.
Like if I got a ribeye in front of me, I'm probably gonna bang it out. But like you just add salt and it's gonna take it to the next league. This had no salt, so like even the other, that execution's probably a 2 also. I do think there's a big difference between episode 1 and 3 though. 3 I think executed a lot better.
Yeah, 3 is much better.
One just felt very all over the place. I couldn't, like you said, like nothing stuck. I was trying to like really pay attention. I was like, I can't follow their train of thought.
I think part of it is that there's so much information about LSD out there. They couldn't figure out which were the most salient points and just like ride that line.
Yeah. They're like San Francisco, Germany, this doctor, that doctor.
They couldn't pick a point of view and just kind of stick with it, even if it was biased or whatever. And with the MDMA ones, if they had dug deeper, like dealt with 1 or 2 people and 1 or 2 scientists and dug deeper into their backgrounds about it, and if we were able to see what the people who were helped looked like or acted like beforehand. I realize that's asking a lot, but at the same time,
you're making a Netflix movie, or like you said, show the bad. Go find one dude that had the worst trip of his life and just interview him. Yeah, I'm sure someone would volunteer.
Yeah, and that's just not in there at all. So it's not. I mean, that's not balanced in that way.
Right. But again, it wasn't like bad. Yeah, it just was like far from good.
Yeah. Sebastian, you gotta.
I'll agree. I like the 3rd episode better, just because it has stories behind it. The first episode, it was just it was interesting seeing how the doctor was just like, all right, I'm just gonna start taking this shit.
I shout out to him. Yeah. Well, and what about the lab he walked in? Like his garage, it was all rusty. There was a sign that said like nuclear power or something. He walks in, I'm like, dude, I'm not touching anything in there. Like that looks so unsanitary. It literally looked like his backyard. There's vials everywhere of liquid.
Bathtub LSD.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yeah. I would say that I would give the 3rd episode maybe a 3 for execution. Yeah. And maybe a 2.5 for subject. The first one, I don't know, probably just like maybe 2.5 for both, on both sides of it. It just wasn't as good as I expected it to be, and it didn't have the stick to your brainness of that I was expecting.
Especially for Netflix. I do think Netflix does good docs. I think they're the original Planet Earth, right?
No, I think that was PBS.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty sure.
Because I can't find
PBS
it now.
and
I thought it was a Nat Geo, and it's not.
PBS and BBC, I think.
Oh, maybe BBC.
I think
because of Homeboy, Attenborough.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Netflix makes really good stuff, and even the Liver King, right? Like the last episode, you guys go check it out. Like, what's better than this?
Yeah.
Although, and obviously, I don't know, because the subject matter still sucks there too. You know,
like subject matter sucks so hard,
but like
so hard.
But even just like visually, like there was more to that than this for sure.
I think that I think that both of these had really good directors of photography.
Yeah,
but they didn't necessarily have the best direction.
Yeah,
and
this was just bland. Bland, I think, is the best word. It's just very bland to me.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Nothing that makes me want to come back.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I in watching the first one, I thought, well, if it gets better than this, maybe we'll want to watch all of them and knock out the other 2 episodes. And it's like, no, I don't think so.
It's weird because documentaries are like popular. So you think more and more talent and time would go, you know?
Yeah.
They're getting more popular, I guess. Like, I feel like 15 years ago, one would come out every 2 years. Now they're everywhere.
And I think that there's a difference, too, between your standalone, like, feature-length documentary and the documentary series. I think that maybe Netflix might be funding the series kind of up front, where the standalones they are kind of made on spec and then sold.
Yeah. So they're baby budgeted. Yeah. This did feel low budget. Which you can't blame them, but
no.
We're again opposed to Liver King did feel high budget.
Yeah, it did,
and obviously it's newer, but still, it just felt that way. Like I don't know where the budget went, but it felt higher budget.
I just can't get past how bad that was.
No, it's not good.
It's just how cringe it was, so cringe, and just didn't. Man, it just so let him off the hook. I mean, we're still talking about it days later, but damn. All right, Mikey's going on assignment for a little bit.
We're out this bitch. But yeah, new episodes Wednesday when you want. Solid Mike, where you want to find me? 3rd Street Barbell, Sacramento, California.
I'm Sebastian _Brambila on IG.
And I am at the Jim McDonald on the social media. This show is 50% facts. For percent is the word, and 50 is just numbers. 50% facts. This is Spreaker Prime Podcast in association with iHeartMedia on the Obscure Celebrity Network. And I will see you next week.